Multiple pathways, something that we have, and if you could just turn and look at the screen, because there's some things I want for you guys to have some understanding around. It seems like we talk about multiple pathways pretty much every board meeting or at multiple faculty meetings, and there still isn't an understanding of what it looks like, and for students, maybe even they don't understand what it looks like. So hopefully by the time I'm done today, you'll have a comprehension of what exactly multiple pathways means, not only by our definition, but also by the definition of the state. So what is multiple pathways? And this is on Great Schools Partnership definition. Students engage in multiple ways to demonstrate achievement of performance indicators and graduation requirements with both school-based and external coursework in the mix. The link that you have on there, right there, and I'm sorry it's not hyperlinked, is the DOE's version of multiple pathways. And if you were to go to that link, you would see 6 different avenues by which a student in the state of Maine can earn a diploma, whether it's through a charter school, public school, private school, technical, or homeschooling. So basically when we're talking about multiple pathways, it means how students can approach graduation in different ways. There isn't just one standard way. What does this mean to students? Well, in terms of their classes and what they study in high school, they have voice and choice. They get to be at the helm of their path as they approach graduation. They have different ways to achieve graduation requirements beyond just what's prescribed in the high school. We're going to go through some of those, but I want you to understand what this also means to schools. This gives us a tremendous amount of freedom. We have the ability to tap into what students are interested in and then include that in their coursework rather than have that be an additional tack on. So a student can take a variant pathway, one very different than the student next to them, but still do it in the same time that their classmate does. They don't have to do additional coursework. They will have a variant experience. They may have a class outside the building. They may be doing a work study, all these kind of different avenues, which I'll show you. But it's not in addition to the 23 credits and the standards and the 4 Cs. It's embedded within, which is the beauty of multiple pathways. There's more than one way to skin a cat, the proverbial saying. And we do definitely put it to the test. I wanted to share some statistics with you in terms of how we produce multiple pathways here at Camden Hills Regional High School. This year, I'm very proud to say we are the leading sender of students to Midcoast School of Technology. This year, we will send 144 students to Midcoast School of Technology. It's the largest number that Camden Hills has ever sent. PEPs are personalized education plans, and we had last year 28 students have personalized education plans, which means a variant to how they're studying. We've taken a class and replaced it with something else. We've used a work experience to obtain an applied academic credit. The personalized education plan really gives us kind of freedom to create that student experience. We use independent studies and direct studies, and that's the next line. And we had 63 students get credit through independent studies and or direct studies last year. Dual enrollment, we had 38 students this fall, and that number will probably double and hit again that target in the spring. So we could say that close to 80 different types of enrollments for students in dual enrollment, which means college classes while they're in high school. And I was thinking about this, and I talked to Sean about this the other day, and seeing that number made me think, and how we've done it over the last couple of years, why couldn't we offer a 5-year experience for a student to get not only their high school diploma, but also their associate's degree? If our students are taking this many classes, or these many students are taking these many classes, why not give them the ability to take college and high school degree and combine it into a 5-year experience? Other schools are doing it. I've seen it in other states. We would be the first to do it in the state of Maine. It would cost the expense, take the expense of community college, which is still very affordable, and cut that in half. With the Worthington and all the other avenues that we would have, a student in 5 years could probably do it for free, which is an amazing concept. Semester programs, we had 4 students in semester-long programs last year. Examples are Chiwanki, Oxbow, Kiev, and those are some of the local, and those are becoming much more popular as we go forward. Zenith, which is our alternative education program, has 25 students in it this year. Cooperative education has 20 students earning credit and holding a job at the same time. And our Camden Hills internship program had 14 students in it last year. I didn't do the math to add those all up, but I think they're pretty impressive. The variance of different types of experiences, how many students we have involved in each of those, and how students are applying those to their graduation credits and creating different pathways for each one of them. So what does that look like? Well, a typical pathway would be this. It's a typical 4-year study. This is a sophomore taking one math, taking a science, taking a U.S. history, a foreign language, and English, all basic requirements. All are offered in the building. A rich experience, the student will be fine if they were to choose to do this the whole way through their 4 years. Where we start to see variance is in a student like this one. This was a student of mine that came to me and said, I really have some interest in designing furniture. You can see that he took intro to engineering, and we built into his schedule a work release in the middle of his day that allowed him then to work at a local furniture maker. And we also gave him cooperative education credits because he was working enough hours for that person. So he was able to not only take courses that were applicable to what he was interested in and what he wanted to do after high school, these courses also satisfied graduation requirements. In addition, he took, his credits in English, a couple of applied technology classes, and high-level physics and calculus. The next student.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
How old was that kid there?
2 years.
Was he a senior when he
He was
did
senior
that?
when he did that program, yeah. This is last year, a student from last year that took 2 college classes. She was very interested in foreign languages and wanted to have a college-level foreign language on her transcript when she presented it to high-level colleges that she was applying to. The AP in Lit and Com came after AP Lang, so she demonstrated high levels in the humanities. And I think taking those 2 additional college classes demonstrated readiness to the universities. She got into very high-level schools. And I think that's a way in which a student can not only expand their interest, in this case foreign language, in that Spanish 201 course, but also demonstrate success and readiness for college.
How was the Spanish 201? How's the college Spanish being provided?
That was provided through an online Spanish class. So BYU is the most commonly used way we attack that. It's a reputable course deck. They have a tremendous amount of offerings. They also offer high school and middle school classes. It's the one I recommend because most students in the BYU program are students that are Mormon faith, and they're all over the world, so they need to be able to access course decks that allow them to get the AP classes, college classes, high school classes, even middle school classes they offer through it. And they're pretty rich experiences and worthwhile. This is a student, and you'll see on the bottom half of that, it's in blue and orange, it's Camden Hills Internship Program. This is a student last year that did this last year. She wants to become a vet. So we wanted to get her a chance to have exposure, and I think you heard from her last year about her experience at Camden Vet. It was fundamental in her understanding of what she wants to do and what she wants to study in college. It reaffirmed her desire, and it also served as an applied academic credit and will work towards her graduation credits. She was able to build it into her day. It wasn't in addition to. She went to her internship and then came back and finished up with a lab science on white days. So it was right in the middle of her day, which is the beauty of our flexibility and freedom with students. We also have, when you talk about multiple pathways, you have to understand that multiple pathways isn't always related to high achieving students. It's also related to students that may need an alternative setting, a different path. So this is a student that was able to blend our Zenith program, which is tremendously successful, those students that take part in it, and Midcoast School of Technology. So this student never actually is in our building at all. They're in an alternative site for Zenith, and at Midcoast School of Technology, which is amazing to think, that this may be a home base, maybe a school for many, many students that come here and participate in all the regular things throughout the day, but we have a reach that goes far beyond that. We have students in programs, that don't ever come into the building, which is I think a fantastic thought, that we can have reach that goes beyond just the walls of this building. So what does this all mean? Well, in my mind, as we stated in the definition, pathways towards graduation is what multiple pathways are. And we're able to define those around students' passions and interests and what they want to study in college, and possibly a career that they may go into. Now, these students right here may change their jobs multiple times over by the length of their career. So it's hard for us to say, okay, if you do this X, Y, and Z course load, you'll end up being an engineer for the rest of your life. Well, we don't know that. What we do know is that colleges tell us what classes they'd like to see students take. In particular, engineering schools are going to tell us exactly what they would like the matriculation to look like. And we'll follow those, but we also want the students' interests and passions to be at the forefront. I'm reading Grit right now by Duckworth, and I suggest that you all read it. It's a very important book. It talks a lot about understanding success in people's lives. It's primarily defined by their ability to work hard and have grit. And that comes from a place of passion. If you're able to generate passion in your life, and I talk to a lot of people about this, and you may have heard me talk about CPP, which is curiosity, passion, play. If you're able to have passion and have the grit and the hard work that we instill in our students, that work ethic, you'll be able to get to a place where your work is play. And that's where I hope our students go. You'll see that our college rate, and this is from last year, is right around where we usually are. We're usually around 75% is what we send 4 and 2-year schools. What I'm interested in, and what I want to boil down a little further, is that 24% at the bottom. Because students are now taking gap years in larger numbers. Students are joining workforce in larger numbers. And so I want to look as we go forward, and my work going forward is to understand, because we've developed these multiple pathways for students, and we have so many students involved in those multiple pathways, is that influencing their secondary choice? And if so, what does that look like? Are more kids going straight into the workforce because they've had internship experience, they've had work experience in high school? Or more students taking a gap year because they're realizing there's other things I want to do before I settle down in a university? But I'm excited that students are doing those kind of things. And it's interesting for us as an institution to understand how that's changing. There's a great book, I just gave it to Iris Eichenlaub, and the name is skipping my mind. It's something, The End of the College Era. And basically it states that more people than ever are realizing that they can access content and information through online modalities, taking classes here and there, defining their passions in better ways, and then the driving cost of universities are continuing to go up and up and up. So people are looking at, how can I obtain the things I want to do in my life and not come out and accruing $260,000 to $300,000 to $400,000 to $500,000 worth of debt? Well, I can access content, I can take classes as I go, as I find interest that I'm really interested in. I can also then mitigate my costs by maybe attending a community college for 2 years and then getting into the workforce and then having my employer pay for me to go back to school to finish my degree. I think there's a lot of avenues that we've got to look at. But I am really excited about our ability to have flexibility, to be able to tailor our students' experience to them in that truly student-centered kind of experience. And we've got to continue to do a lot of work to ensure that students know that they have these freedoms within their high school experience and that they don't just have to take the normal course sequence from year to year, English, math, science, in the building with our teachers. They can find variant ways to tackle those. That's all I have for you guys. I'll answer any question you may have if you want to fire away.
I'm curious, the BYU program and then the part of the multiple pathways with the semesters, the Chewonki.
Sure.
Is any of that at monetary cost to parents, or is all of these things?
I'd say the BYU is an example of something that does cost money. That is something that is in addition. We do have Odysseyware, and I should have put that up there. We've had more students than ever taking our Odysseyware course, which is free online course deck that we use to help students either in credit recovery or with a personalized education plan to free up time in their schedule. The CHIP program comes into play there when we want to get students out of the building. We'll use an online class to help free up that time. And Bill Anderson, we just created a stipend for him last year to oversee that, and he does a wonderful job. He gives us an update every week on all the students and their coursework in Odysseyware, and that's completely free to the student.
Do any kids doing AP for all?
AP for All doesn't exist anymore. It's now called AP for Me. AP for All was a lackluster program. I don't know if AP for Me is going to be any better. I would recommend, if a student is looking to supplement their AP work, that they look, unfortunately, at the BYU deck. It is a little bit more expensive, but it's not a cost prohibitive. I think it's $150. It's not, Chewonki, those things, they do have scholarships and you can apply for them. And they're pretty good with their money. And especially if we have such a tight relationship with some of these folks that we can call them up. I know the people at Kiev and Chewonki personally. And say, I have a student that would be a perfect fit for you. We need to give them some money. And they figure it out. Hurricane Island does a great job with us with that. They give us 2 scholarships. They have in the past, and they gave us a scholarship last year as well. And they really do a wonderful job with their students that take advantage of that program. And there's a scholarship specifically designed for Camden Hills for our students.
Question for you about the 5-year program. Do you think that there's enough traction to get that going?
I don't know. I just thought of it the other day after an article I read, and I threw it to Sean. And I like throwing things in front of you guys because you guys are the ones that make the decisions. You govern our school. So I'm going to come back to you with it. But I think it would be great. I think it would be a phenomenal opportunity, given that we do a partnership with UMaine Hutch. They get all their classes through, and UMaine has now established a system called Explore EC, which allows them to access UMaine online classes for free while in high school through the Aspirations program. So we could do that, get them to a place that they would only need 1 year actually attending, UHutch or having to pay out of pocket for college courses with the Worthington that we already have in-house that would take $4,000 off the top there. Pell and TAP would take another, 2 to 3 off there. And then you're looking at maybe $1,000 that you would need to pay off, and you would be done in 5 years, and you can get into the workforce.
Or you could continue.
Or continue, and you go to UMaine, and you would already have your associate's degree, and you'd be done in UMaine in 3 years. In total college experience.
Right.
And 2 additional years after you finish with us.
I've explored that with other people too, but my idea is also, if you get your associates in 5 years, you then can take those 4 years of college and take higher level courses.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Get further along than you would.
Absolutely.
But so my questions are about the dual enrollment. First,
Yep.
the 38, what grades? Junior, seniors?
It ranges from sophomores, and we've actually had some freshmen do it. We have to write letters of recommendation to do it. They usually do it in the summer between freshman and sophomore year, and more recently they've done it. And Dr. Carlson I had to force him to write 3 letters for 3 sophomore girls last year who wanted to up their math level and take geometry over the summer so they can get into pre-cal in their sophomore year, so they can get to calculus BC by their senior year.
And so dual enrollment could look like BYU Online.
Yep.
Or another online course. It could look like the Aspirations program.
Aspirations.
Like going to URock, going to UMaine Augusta, going to the Hutchins Center, and those are paid for by the
All 38 of those students that you see for fall semester of this year are completely Aspirations. Those are all free. Yep.
Is there how else does that look? I guess-
Where else could you take dual enrollment courses?
Or what other kind of,
We've got one of them right here.
Yeah.
Course Tom's teaching.
Tom is the UMaine Innovation course is a dual enrollment course. The the Midcoast School of Technology courses, they now have an agreement with KVCC, so there's dual enrollment courses that they can access there that are also for free.
So is there an opportunity for Camden Hills to offer more in-house courses that are approved by the humane system? That
You
would qualify
can-
for enrollment?
Basically, Pete, you can access through aspirations pretty much a total freshman year course deck. And getting into majors and, idiosyncratic classes to the different majors is a different story. Those are going to hold on to because they want you to pay for them. But English 101, English 102, ComSpeak, all those kind of entry-level freshman year courses can all be obtained through aspirations.
But is there an opportunity for a percentage of the students here, I guess the higher level, higher performing students, to actually reach the associates in 4 years?
It would be, now you're talking about a significant course load on top of what they're already doing here. And if you're talking about high achieving students, they're probably taking 6.5 to 7 credits in the building already. So I would worry about balance for those students and pushing a little too much. Miss Livy sent us an article just yesterday about understanding anxieties with students and balance. So that's a perspective, Pete, that I skate that line, and I've actually gotten feedback from parents that I'm too much to the line of balance, that I don't push hard enough, and I'll have that fight with anyone you want because it's the kids. I'm not worried about, we need to have them all in honors courses and all in APs and dual enrollments all at the same time. No. If that student can handle that and it makes sense for them, then yes, student-centered, their pathway. As a generality, no, I'd much rather have a student be well-balanced, be in the arts, after-school activities, student government, all those other pieces to the profile, the intangible profile that they don't even understand they're creating, that colleges will view, than necessarily loading up on courses for the sake of loading up on courses. And that's why
I'm not suggesting that at all.
Yeah. That's why the 5 years something is really niche. It's kind of it's a unique balance.
Who pays for that 5th year though? The taxpayers?
Like I said, Worthington. We sent 25 students to the Worthington Scholarship last year. We have, and for Cal College, it's pretty affordable once you get through Pell and TAP, which is financial aid. They don't have to pay back this. I'm not talking any student loan.
Paid for.
Yeah. Well, they would graduate, in 4 years.
Oh, I see.
And
You're not actually
then,
here.
because we have a mutual agreement, let's say UMaine Hutch or the UMaine system in general, then they would attend one of their comm schools for 1 year, but only 1 year, and then be done.
I have another question. I loved your presentation. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
so forward-thinking and awesome that the kids have this many choices. I want to nitpick a little bit on
Sure,
the word
go ahead.
on the word variant.
Okay.
Just because it just I prickled a little when I heard it because it just sort of feels like something that connotes something abnormal or odd.
What's wrong with that normal?
Well, okay, there you go. I guess nothing. So
Yeah.
I don't want to label it that.
No, I think that what I'm trying to get at, and I think it's more wordsmithing that you're getting at than anything else, is flexibility, plasticity, longitudinal ability for students to gain into, find fissures and where they can go. They don't necessarily have to have a rigid path. They don't have to have a flex mindset and understanding. I need to get 23 credits that can only be achieved in my building, that can only be done in this kind of course sequence, in this time frame. No. I want
Well,
them
just
to
be cool to
understand
get to the
very
point where
different
all
ways.
5 paths are seen as normal.
Sure.
And not one is normal and the rest are.
I think getting to a place where the idiosyncratic needs of the student is the baseline. That each individual student dictates the way they go. And that's normal because everyone's doing it.
How are these presented to students? So if I were a freshman student coming in and I might be interested in some of these things but not even know about them, how?
Yeah, so that's something, it's a work in progress. And last year, I wanted to do a presentation. We bring in Midcoast, they do a presentation right around February when we do course sign up. I've got to nuance that and figure out how I can present this in a way where they understand it's about what you are interested in. And, our counselors, I think, do a phenomenal job in talking to our kids about the options and how they can approach things. And that's something that I've been working on for 4 years. I think, when you do systemic change, it has to be incremental and over time. So we're definitely bridging those conversations in counseling didactics in ways in which students can hear from us. But I have to figure out a way that I can kind of broad send the message so that folks understand, like, you can be at the advocator. You don't necessarily have to receive that information from someone. You can say, I want to do this, I want to change it up, and not necessarily by word of mouth, but because you know that. And I think when I give the 8th grade presentations, and Dr. Carlson is there for most of them, I think I'm getting through at that point where I give different examples of different schedules and show them, hey, you can do this in a lot of different ways. Because we do have to, per policy, IKF says that I have to go through all the graduation requirements when I present to them. So I like to do it in a way that they understand there's multiple ways to do this.
So, like, to gain credit for cooperative education or the Camden Hills Internship program, is it pass-fail, and are you still doing the presentation?
So the cooperative education class and Camden Hills, I think, are both pass-fail, I believe. I know the Camden Hills internship program is, because we're not going to grade students on it. It's just an experiential program. Cooperative ed, I think, operates from the same perspective. That it's all about the experience. It isn't necessarily about, how well you did on your job at XYZ employer. It's more that you had the experience, you met the bars, you did what you needed to do throughout your visits, and you wrote a submissive essay and you gave a presentation, than necessarily the quality of your output at said job. It's more about the experience than anything else, I think.
Is there a list for the co-op and the internships that they have to pick from, or can they go out and say, hey, I found this and I want to intern here?
So that's the beauty of this program. It's growing, and we do have a list of partners that we have, and there's close to 40 different partners now that we've shored up. I just had a conversation with Bigelow Labs today. We're going to roll them into our partnership, and I already have a student identified for that internship, so I'm really excited about that. But students have come to us in the past and said, I'm working at X, Y, and Z, or I'm interested in this particular opportunity. Can I do that as an internship? Sure, why not? And then that gives us an inroad to go talk to those people and bring them on in and make them a partner of ours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
First, I'd love to hear you present. You're awesome.
Thanks.
You're welcome. My other question my question is, can any of this stuff be done in the summer? When they're working in the summer, they can turn it into like a work study or
Absolutely. We had students, who did we have? We had one student. She's very interested in cattle. She does a really good job of raising cattle, and she's won a lot of awards. She came to me in the spring, and she has a relationship with Aldemir Farm, and we had already existing internship for their cattle raising program. And she said, I've done some work there, and I heard they have a cattle program. Do you think I could start there? Sure. And she started, I think 3 weeks before the end of the school year, wrote it through all the way through the summer. And now she's into fair season in the fall, and she has her own cattle, so she kind of had to break away from them, but she's going to go back to them, I think, next spring.